Hey everyone, welcome back to Behind the Grape, where we will typically be talking about wines, telling their story, not rating them, just discussing them, and talking about their structure, their flavor profile, and what they best pair with. Today's going to be a little bit different, and I wanted to tackle this now while the country's heading into stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And it's about service. Service from our point of view and service from your point of view as our distinguished guest. To me, service starts the moment you make a reservation. If you make a reservation and you put in your profile, I don't like Oak Chardonnay, or it's my birthday, it's my wife's birthday, it's my partner's birthday, whatever the case may be, any notes that you make that are relevant to your dining experience, service starts then. So on our end, in our pre-shifts, what we should be doing is letting our service staff know that, hey, Miss Lindsay Evans has made a reservation this evening. She has a high dislike for heavily oaked Chardonnay, and it's her husband Simon's birthday. Now, from a service point of view, what we should be doing with that is, upon their arrival, happy birthday, Simon. Maybe there's a card signed by the staff. And then it's like, oh, and Miss Evans, I understand you don't care for or heavily oaked Chardonnay. I've made a list of wines here for you to look at that I highly recommend that are not heavily oaked, i.e., German Riesling, Gruner Veltliner, and perhaps Sauvignon Blanc. From that point on, the guest feels, wow, I made a note in my reservation. They saw it. They cared about it, they addressed it, and they've taken steps to execute it. It's a win-win for both. As a server and som, you've disarmed them. Now the guest is also disarmed because they feel like they're in good hands. Things like that, that's service. And again, thinking about post-COVID, when people are going out for dinner or lunch or brunch, whatever the case may be, they have a heightened sense of awareness because a lot of people have lost their jobs, right? They're spending their disposable income, and so they want to feel like they're getting the best value for that. And so things like that really help to go a long way to let them feel like they've made the right choice in dining with you, and that they're going to take care of you if you continue to take care of them. The second part of it I want to talk about a little bit when it came to service, again, post-COVID, even pre-COVID, this should have been happening, and mostly it does. But post-COVID, again, heightened sense of awareness is body positioning and body language. Being friendly, being professional, never reaching. Nothing worse than being at a table and you're getting your wine poured or your drink dropped, and all of a sudden there's an arm across your face, like that. Disrupts your conversation. Sometimes it's literally an armpit in your face. We have to step back and remember, okay, social distancing, one, but basic respect. Part of my reach. Do you mind if I reach across? Is there another way to get the drink to the guest? Maybe, it's, may I pass this to you to give to your friend if it's in a tight space. But always look for ways to provide the service without being intrusive and interrupting, and sometimes just being rude. I hate to say it, but an arm across the face, not always the best thing. And then from a service point of view, one thing I always say to my teams in our pre-shifts is make sure you're armed with a toolbox. I'm thinking of three of my best colleagues, Courtney Dennison, Jan Michael, Trevor C., Stephen Allen, so there's four actually. They would have heard me say this probably 1,000 times about the toolbox. But the toolbox is knowing your menu and what are you going to offer with it. Because when it comes to service and beverage service in particular, it's not enough to stand there and take an order and then wait for the guest to say, oh, and could I get a beer? Or could I get a glass of wine? It's got to be more intuitive in the sense of, I've just ordered a scallop dish. I'm going to have the pan-seared scallop. Absolutely, the pan-seared scallops. Could I recommend to you the Loimer Gruner Veltliner? It's clean, it's crisp, it's got high acidity, it's going to cut through the fat of the scallop. It's got notes of orange. You're offering a suggestion right off the hop, and they don't even have time to think about it. And like, wow, you say that with such confidence. Of course I want that. Or you're having a burger. Oh, you're having the burger? You know what? Today I've got the ACL Pilsner on tap. Really refreshing beer. I think that, you'd really enjoy that with the burger. You're taking away the steps of the guest trying to drive the boat. Again, especially post COVID, we need to drive the boat. And again, doing it respectfully and professionally. I want to touch upon a story, and I mentioned his name earlier, about, taking care of our guests. I had this server, Trevor C., and this is back at the Shangri-La. And we had a lovely family that dined with us often, the Serafati family. And he'd been to every restaurant, the top 50 restaurants around the world. And one day they just mentioned in passing about a Cherries Jubilee or a Bananas Foster that they had while they were in Paris. And we knew it was their anniversary coming up. Trevor knew this as well, and he saw that they were coming in. And he said, Mark, I need to get a separate table. I need to get a Bunsen burner, talk to Chef Damon to get a frying pan. And when they came in, they had their dinner, Trevor wheels out this table and does a tableside Cherries Jubilee. And I've still got the video, and you can hear Mrs. Serafati squeal in delight, clapping and oohing and awing. That was intuitive service. That was a wow moment. And I think it's those moments that us as restaurateurs are going to have going forward to keep people coming back, again, in social distancing and everything else that goes along with it. But being intuitive, listening, paying attention, and driving the experience, because I do believe the days of just coming in and saying, I'm going to get my burger and beer, while still there, the competition's going to be fiercer. And what are we going to do from a service point of view to get it there? So, I urge us to have that toolbox, to be intuitive and be listening. And then my last topic I wanted to speak about today on service was also, and again, this is going to generate some talk, and that's okay. As long as we're respectful, we can have different opinions, but this is just my opinion when it comes to service. Our gratuities. I've seen some posts come up since COVID of, if you're coming in, make sure you can afford to tip and the likes of that. And I just want to reinforce that tipping is not a right and it's not a law. And while I understand that a lot of us survive on tips, and I'm very respectful of that, again, coming out of this, we have to be respectful on the other side too of what people have been going through. Some people may have been laid off for months, but they have enough savings, they want to get to their favorite restaurant and they can just pay for their meal. And, the tip may not be the 15, 18, 20% you're looking for, but that's okay. We still have to treat people with the respect and dignity and humility that service is all about. And humility is the big portion of that. I've always said to my teams, if they've complained about a tip, I always say, go look in the mirror. Can you walk away from that mirror and say you did everything you possibly could to earn that, or did you mail it in? Because the other thing with that is, from our point of view to the guest, maybe that guest couldn't afford the big tip that you were looking for. You don't know the circumstances. We can't assume anything, and sometimes we have to take it on the chin. And I know that hurts. I know that. But 9 times out of 10, we wear that on our faces. And the next guests that sit down, what they see is an angry server or an angry som approaching the table. And well, guess what? Your tip has already gone down because you're so upset from the tip before, it's affecting your service on the next table. So I think we just have to remember that. We have to give our best service, but don't assume that because we're doing it, that we're going to get the big tip. Especially in the first couple of, it's not about the tip, it's about providing a service, trying to bring back a sense of normalcy, being humble, being professional, and being caring. And again, this broadcast today, while not necessarily all about wine, I just want to talk about service and about us looking after you, our guest, and thanking you, our guest, for coming back. We'll do our best to look after you the way you deserve. We'll listen to your cues, and we'll get through this together. Our next episode will definitely be back focusing on wine. I hope everyone got something from this particular broadcast. And I thank you for your time. And I'm hoping everyone is doing really well as we're entering these phase 2, 3, 4s, wherever you are in the country. Thanks, and have a great evening.